So good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to the Earth Nouveau Hub, to another installment of Exploring Consciousness. And today I think we're going to talk about time. I was a bit, not really sure. And only the last minute something came up. And we will see where we're going to take this. So I found this meditation teaching that I've done last year sometime, looking at Earth Universal Time, Galactic Time, and all of that. And we can do this. We're gonna share the document, and you guys can read it. And then we'll just see what's coming up around that. And as I was thinking, I wasn't entirely sure where that's going to fit. But then I've just been to Facebook, and there was somebody saying, do you feel like you're between realities at the moment? Right? Yeah. Because what is time is, as we all know, it's a social agreement, but it also invites us to look at the plasticity of reality. And this is obviously why grounding is so important at the moment, because, it's so easy to just go off into a different reality, different time stream, memories just flooding in like that at the moment. And I think this is part of why people feel that they are between, realities, between timelines, or whatever they want to call it, So do you find that too, that stuff triggers you, not from a, self-mastery perspective now, oh my God, I get all angry and all that, but more from a, where have I just been? Where did I just go? Do you find that? You got some examples there? Do you want to share?
Yeah, I will. Can you hear me?
Yes.
It's like, this is amazing that you bring that subject up, or in that way, because this week, and it's only Wednesday, but it feels like this week has gone on for a year. It's like I'm working and living in a very structured way, and I don't live in that world anymore. It's like somehow for me, there's a whole new reality happening. And it's like, when is this old one going to just keel over and die? Because it's so old, trying to fit into all these structures here that just don't fit me anymore.
Do you also find, Shoba, that it's not even a matter of having to fit in or stand out anymore?
It's just like, get on with it.
It is, yeah.
And that's within myself too. Get on with what's happening. Like not even wanting to give too many words to it, because something's in such a flow, and that I'm moving with it, and that it's like sometimes I come up for air and I look back and think, oh yeah, that's where I'm supposed to be in a structured life. But I'm actually way somewhere else at the moment. And I kind of love it. It's whatever it was that hooked me or hinged me into this, call it timeline or whatever you want to phrase it, that doesn't work anymore. I'm not anchored in that anymore. I'm anchoring in something else.
Well, the fact that you can say you love it speaks very much for the work you must have done, because so many people are totally thrown and perplexed at the moment, because they are so afraid, because it is such it can be a very expansive experience when you've done the self-mastery and the self-healing, but at the same time, I think it can be a very ungrounding and a very scary energy for people.
Yeah, and I have to say, I'm very, very happy. I had a session with Andrew some time ago, and that was really a kick into the right timeline. It's not the way to put it, but really just turbocharged me into letting go of all those anchoring chains that have held me down, and now just go with whatever's coming in, but ground it in, do the footwork with it. Yeah. And you're right, I'm seeing so many people, including my partner, that are somehow holding on to what was, and I can't say let go, because it's a personal journey. It's individual. You've got to do it in your own time, your own way, you know? But sometimes you just want to go out and go, just let go. Just let go. Yeah.
Slap him into it.
But, you know, it's like...
So sovereign.
It's like... Yeah, there was a meme up the other day. I don't know if any of you got it. It said, I'm feeling so quantum, it's indecent. Did anybody see that?
No, but I like it.
It was great. It was like someone completely blissed out, being carried out, just saying, I'm so quantum, you know, it's just, I'm out there. And it was like, yeah, you know, there's something so beautiful that's unfolding. It's uncomfortable too, I have to say, but, and being on your show is part of my grounding in. You know, just
good.
pulling it down.
Thanks for
because
saying.
it's an opportunity to speak it out.
And you know what else? It's when you create context around something that doesn't have context, then everything changes. The perception you can anchor in your perception. You can say yes or no, because it's no longer a nothingness, but we have created some context around it. So, and this is what we're going to probably do today again, because when I think of the plasticity of this reality, and you know, all the layers being overlaid, the past, the present, the future, we can just jump from one to the other and everything. It's like consciousness is not defined by space-time. It has no limitations. It has no barriers. It expands over the sea of consciousness, the ocean of awareness, and then beyond all of that. And when you have just those words, when you actually understand what sea of consciousness is and what ocean of awareness is, and there is even and beyond of that, when you have a context along those lines, then you can so much more appreciate what it means when you feel the way you feel. Because all of a sudden you understand the journey of the celestial medium, right? I mean, to be honest, I've never heard the celestial medium journey taught by anyone other than Andrew. And I mean, we've now come back after having done a lot of self-mastery over the last couple of weeks. We have come back to the more galactic connection and communication again. So we will have to be referring back to AB's material, right? Because there is not necessarily much out there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to color in that material with our own experiences that will be coming through in the next couple of weeks, months, years. But it's really nice to have a structure there. And even if you say no, that does not work for me, or yes, that does, at least there is a context within. We can discuss it, we can explore it. So we will be, if we carry on that galactic groove that I'm thinking that we're going to carry on, then AB's material will keep coming back in, and then we can play with that and make it our own and color it in. I quite like that coloring in. And of course, the super illuminal thinking, that's what keeps coming in here. Because whilst we are grounded in this physicality, whilst what does super illuminal thinking mean? It's like the vagus nerve is functioning and clear. The programs are not interfering. Sympathetic, parasympathetic. The chakras are open. And of course, this doesn't, you know, it's not like this the whole time. It keeps changing. But think along those lines. You know, chakras are open. They're working together. Mind, heart, gut, working together. Everything is working together. This is when we go beyond the chemical frequencies, right? We go into the light frequencies. We're starting to tap into galactic time, into universal time, into that space of what we call time. Yeah. and then of course that space beyond. And I think that's probably when we go on Facebook or something, you know, this is what people trying to look at the moment. So, you know, but and as I said, when there's context through the teaching, then you can deal with that in a completely different way, because you don't necessarily just feel, oh my God, I'm so ungrounded, I don't know what the hell is going on. You can, oh, I'm practicing my illuminal thinking, right? And I'm practicing to stay in the moment, because that's really the in the present moment teaching is something that we are now living. I remember reading Eckhart Tolle years ago. He's talking about living in the moment, right? And I'm like, oh, what the hell, yeah. And now it's like, well, okay, that's what we're doing. We're living in the moment now. Because there is actually no choice, because if we go into the future now, then, you know, there's fear, anxiety, you know, unawareness and all of that. Going to the past, you know, there's just no clarity, you know, and things like that. So we have to start. We have to create the future by being in the moment. Does anyone else want to share just how they feel at the moment? And don't get hung up on feeling. It's okay to feel, because we are no longer talking the old empathy paradigm. This is the new renaissance of feeling. Irina.
I want to share a very funny experience I had just this weekend, actually. Remember we were talking about crossing dimensions and those beings from inner earth coming to our reality in a flash. This is what I had.
Oh,
it was
wow.
so funny. It was so funny. I was hiking in the woods and I was lost. I kind of like knew direction, but I didn't know exactly. I was checking, going that direction doesn't feel right, then returning. So, and I got to crossroad and it's no one around me, really no one. I got to crossroad and I was like, okay, I will try left, going left. And I'm walking left. Suddenly from nowhere, I didn't see anyone coming towards me. Suddenly from nowhere, like a young guy, maybe teens, late teens or early 20s, coming towards me like a hiker, you know, like with this sipping a backpack with water. And I'm like, interesting. We're approaching each other and I'm asking, is this road that way? And he's like, I don't know. And he was like, angelic presence energy. I don't know. And I'm like, okay, where you coming from? What is behind you? Where you coming from? And he's naming me place where it's not what I need to go. And I said, okay, do you know this road? He's not smiling, that smile from inside and saying, I don't know. And I said, okay, thank you, bye-bye. And I'm continuing walking that direction where he's coming from. I was walking maybe less than a minute, maybe half of a minute, 30 seconds or something. And I'm feeling like, no, it's wrong direction. I'm turning 30 seconds, where he can go? Nowhere, yes? He must be here around me. And it's like, I can see around woods and the trees, and I can see if he turns somewhere. And I don't see him. Like no one again around me. It was so fun. I was like, wow, thank you so much. It was so exciting experience. And another thing I want to share, multidimensionality. It's so present now. It's our reality. It's so open. I self-adjusted my sphenoid bone. Just looking at some video, I did something, you can feel it, how to adjust it. It's so easy. And it's opened inside of mirror connections, memory flooding about my previous connections into connection to my today environment, all those not released, I would say even tears, they just coming from me. It's like body crying. I'm not emotional, but body crying. Then some like emotional moment coming and connection to today environment, and dreams, everything connecting now, like we are in many places, like many doors really opened for us. It's not talk anymore. It's our reality. Like you, Martina said, we are living in the moment. It's our today moment. And it's so real. It's just tangible. It's around. Yeah.
I absolutely love that. Absolutely love that. That's what we were doing, you know, with that last time. And I think we talked about that, you know, that things like that, we are creating this bubble of reality here now with that kind of frequency and vibration and signature, basically, that we can start inviting them into our bubble. And so good on you to acknowledge that that's what happened. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was amazing experience. I was laughing, I was celebrating, I was jumping. Even I was so tired. I was hiking already for 3 hours. I was very tired, but I was like, whoa, it worth it. I would go again 3 hours just to have that connection again, you know?
And that in itself is your proof if you would need one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you got to watch out for people, because you can tell that story to somebody else who doesn't have that understanding, and they will talk you down, say, oh, what the fuck, that's bullshit, and that's not true, and you're just making this up. And that's what we need to watch out for when you have these experiences, you know, share them with people that can appreciate it and actually understand what you're talking about. You know?
It's not anymore my environment for those people having around me. And actually, whenever I talk something like that to new people, uh, it's more curiosity in them turning on. They kind like more look into that expansion. So I'm watching that stuff, but it's not my reality anymore.
It's
Yeah.
not your reality. No,
No.
I appreciate that. I just want to say it because on this Zoom, for people who watch it, who's still playing in a slightly different awareness consciousness, you know, because it's detrimental to your maintaining the level of awareness, you know, that because we get so excited by stuff like that. And then when you do share it with the wrong people, you sort of, you know, it's almost like a slap in the face, you know, when the wall comes up and all the energy that you're trying to, you know, share with them just fucking hits you in the face, you know. So watch out for that. But thank you. That's amazing. I love that. I love that.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for celebrating with me and sharing with me these memories, because really, I wrote down my experience in my diary. This is like my biggest friend for sharing today. Whenever I don't have people around me, when I don't teach. But yeah, it's not my reality in general, but I appreciate what you are saying. Yeah, it's very important not to lose that connection, continue that way going. Yeah.
Yes, and as you say, important to write it down. That's fantastic, because the more you actually acknowledge for yourself, you write it down. It's a bit like with the dreams, right? Or even sharing it in this sort of forum now, that will then attract more of that. Yeah. So let's just use this opportunity and just drop all our barriers here. Anything that whoever is here that we can't see, and whoever is going to watch this at some stage and thinks that's utter nonsense or something, and that's absolutely fine. Let's drop the barriers to those people. Yeah, we don't judge them. We don't need to have an opinion, a point of view about it. And we're just dropping the barriers and open our hearts compassionately.
I want to share one more detail, if I may.
Yes.
I was around nature. I was in nature, deep in nature. So no, like even it's a city, a little city, little town, but I was far away from human-made reality, and trees were sounding so strong, you know, holding that nature vibration. And when I went through some a little community with houses, like community, really people community, I was feeling I'm coming from one frequency to another frequency. It was different frequency. Man-made frequency was completely different, and it was like in a Truman Show movie. Exactly, like everyone was coming whenever I needed them. One woman gave me a ride. Now I saw people playing golf, so some said hi and directed me to needed direction. Like I put those people there. I asked those me being in those places, but that energy of nature showed me, allowed me to see it and recognize it. So this is, I would say, how important today to be in connection with deep nature, not just parks, but nature. Yeah.
It's another very good point, because for that to materialize and actualize, it requires a certain, you know, level of awareness, not just from you, but actually from the environment that you're in, you know. And I have to acknowledge that too, because I mean, I live in London, sacred geometry city and all of that. I sometimes think, oh, why doesn't this happen to me, and la la la, you know. Well, I need to get my ass out of here, right? As you say, you need to go to places, you know, where these things can happen with much more ease and joy and care, you know, because the consciousness you're living in, the consciousness of the city, yeah, it's not just you, it's the consciousness of the city that impacts, of the road, the neighbors, you know, and everything like that. I mean, remind yourself when we do talk about dreaming, how when you have a visitor over, you start dreaming, you're sharing dream space with these people, right? And things like that. So there is something to be said about leaving your natural habitat, your place where you live at times, if you're not living on a mountain, and actually check out how do those experiences change when you change your environment, you know. And thanks for mentioning that as well, because, you know, sometimes, you know, we forget. You might have done so much work and everything, but if you still squeeze yourself into a certain environment, you know, you're making it more difficult for you. I remember once, actually, in fact, I was talking to a priest, a Cypriot priest. He was my neighbor's a Cypriot, and he was here, and he said he always goes once a year. He goes to the monastery and he does, you know, cleansing and all sorts of things, you know, and his level of awareness goes through the roof when he's up there. And then, you know, when he comes back into his town, he says it's very difficult to maintain that level of awareness, you know. So that's when we have to reinforce our boundaries even more, you know, and really start using the compassion, understanding it, and start using it. Because, you know, at the end of the day, with all the veils going, we will have to be able to, no matter where we are, to deal with stuff like that. Yeah. I went down in my road down is the Church of England there, and they had a fire going in the garden, and they invited people to come, and they had a storyteller there. I live in a road that's called Robin Hood Lane, and this lady was saying, the storyteller, she was a storyteller, and she told the story about this highwayman who lived here 230 years ago, and the story about everything. And it was so interesting. It was in the garden and there was just the fire. She was the storyteller. And there was another guy there, he was playing the banjo. And just sitting there, I felt transported into a different timeline, you know, or time, not timeline as such, but different time, actually, back a couple of 100 years back, American settlers, you know, that was my association with the banjo and the storytelling and everything. And it was really amazing. You know, how quickly, as soon as he started playing, saying, what is going on here? Whoosh, and I felt already being in a different place, whilst I still had the conversation with the girls I was with. Yeah, so think of superluminal thinking. Yeah, you're in the body, you're nicely grounded here, you're having your conversation, and then all of a sudden, you know, speed of light, your consciousness just goes into different places, spaces, you know, and picks up all sorts of information and brings it back. It doesn't have to, you don't have to integrate them all, but some bits you will, you know. And that's the capacity that we have. That's the capacity that we have, where we can, and what is all of that? That is basically us being able to read the Akashic records, which is another interesting thing, because this is probably also that's coming up, what I just did, for today. Because we often, I mean, including myself, I get hung up, oh, I can't read the Akashic record. Well, I did, sitting there, listening to the banjo, right? And all of a sudden, I could have made up a story. I could have looked at where was I sitting, but it was just a flashing, you know, moment where I felt like it. And then I was back with the girls. But this understanding, again, what is the Akashic record, right? There's a planetary one, there's an individual one, there's a galactic one, and, you know, a universal one beyond, you know, and all of that. Again, if you have a bit of context, yeah, these are actual records. Yes, in the crust, yes. In the crust below, in the crystalline structure. Yeah, 60-70% crystals. Now, what do crystals do? They are programmable. And it is the earth that calls the shot, what it wants to be recording. And we have access to that. And what if, so everything you've actually made significant and a certain structure of what Akashic record reading is, why don't we just destroy and uncreate that? And just say, hey, we are Akashic record readers, because we are, right? And we do it in different ways. It's like I've got another example there. I was like, woke up the other day and I looked into my garden and there was a silver, you know, those helium balloons, you know, I looked down and it got caught. It was hanging on my apple tree, got caught. And when I looked down, you know, some of the helium was already coming out, so it was a bit flabby. I looked down, I said, oh my God, a dragon. A dragon. How is that? How amazing is that, right? And literally I only saw a dragon, and still hanging up there. And I'm not even sure what it really is, but I don't care, because for me it's a dragon. Because since then, the next meditation I did, the silver dragon came in and he took me into the void space and we started traveling. So is it a dragon? Yes. And if I ever get the chance to get up there and bring that thing down, I'll be obviously, you know, cracking myself up if it's completely something different. But again, make it up, right? If it makes you happy, like Arena said, you know, people say you're making it up and you're talking, yeah. There's a difference between making it up and having an experience with something that resonates with your truth, not somebody else's. Who gets that at the moment? There's so many things out there, all of us, not just clouds or trees, or you seeing stuff in everything? You get that too?
like a lot of random animals that like are always in hiding. They'll just pop up like when I'm walking around. So I see those showing up a lot. I always think it's really cool. Like the foxes and a hummingbird that visits me on the balcony when I never fucking see him. It's pretty cool.
Fantastic. Yeah, being in the moment, to appreciate that, to see these things, to acknowledge them. And I think, you know, I mean, those synchronicities, synchrodestinies, whatever you want to call them, this happens, I don't know, 100 times a day, if not more. And it's a matter of acknowledging it, right? So where do you guys want to take this today? Shall we do the meditation now and see what happens from it? So we got yeah, plasticity of reality. Got Akashic records. We got liminal thinking. Can talk about shit like that for days, I suppose. But we can do the whatever I did last year. So I'm gonna pop it on and see if I can share the screen here. Can you see it?
Yes, I can see it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So yeah, it looks like I had in last year, I had quite a creative year, writing all sorts of things. And let's see what it does to us. Galactic Universal Time Invocation. So obviously AB's, you know, inspired by AB's teaching, and let it, you know, let it help us to appreciate the different times, even though we all understand that it's just a social agreement, and let it help us to activate our DNA, because the DNA activation is really what's quite important at the moment in my world. At least that's what keeps coming back. What tools can we use to activate our DNA? And I think, you know, let's just do this time thing. So you read it. Anyone who wants to read it, wants to get started, and then when you have enough, let somebody else take over. I do the first. It's not that long. I don't think it's that long, but anyway, it's only 2 pages. So and then put your name in. I am apex being of the now, accept my galactic citizenship as an ancient being of light, who invites a greater understanding of multidimensional totality. I'm a photonic being of light, actualized in this ever-present co-creative moment of the now. Within my DNA is my red timeless ruby. Now, here you add your own stone, gemstone of choice, or metal of choice. The knowingness and wisdom of 1,000,000 generations of the past and 1,000,000 generations of the future. I herewith connect with my 7 past and 7 future generations in the Galactic Central Sun, which is assisting all our solar systems, guiding the spiritual commerce markets of stream of lights and soul families who are looking for specific signs of experiences and ways of living. Many distractions, needs for instant gratification and validation are being overlaid by the higher scales and harmony frequencies of the Galactic Central Sun, as the spirit and prime creator in equal co-creation with all solar system living.
I now take a deep breath and sink into the center of my being. Calmly breathe into all the places and spaces of toxicity and limitation. No judgment, no point of view, just an exchange of information, a giving and receiving without barriers, walls and separation. Breathing in the gift of the central sun into my frequency, breathing out what does not serve my body, mind, and spirit anymore. I am a citizen of this galaxy. I am born into this galaxy. I live and breathe in this galaxy, and it is my birthright to exchange my DNA wisdom and knowledge with all living, breathing beings in non-competition, non-hierarchy, and equal co-creation in this moment of now and forever. Any infringements by other beings in knowing and unknowingness are being acknowledged, banned, and dissolved into the Galactic Central Sun to freely activate my super technology of communion and union, turning action into knowledge and knowledge into action, infinite wisdom into the here and now.
I am here with connecting Earth Time, Roman Numeral Time, Galactic Time, and Universal Time all simultaneously. From the center of my heart, bring my vision to the heart, pumping valves, blood flowing through the ventricles, dropping the brain into the heart, reminding myself of the being of the fetus in my mother's womb, the little sliver on my brain before I grew my spinal column. I allow myself to see and feel the spin and speed of my chakral system back in front of the heart, and now connect to the Galactic Central Sun for that place and activate the super technology of community and unity. From this place of the heart, I can watch any and every star I've ever seen in all of existence. Now I allow myself to see how the Galactic Central Sun is connected to every star in every solar system. See how every star in every solar system has their own intricate pattern, spinning around in the spiral process of the spheroid unit that is our galaxy.
As I am connecting through your heartbeat to the central sun, drawing me closer and closer to it, feeding me, saturating myself with galactic time perception, purifying and healing my fraud time addiction, human time, I am changing the color of my galactic stream of light experience. I allow my I am apex presence self to turn on that super technology in my DNA instrument, to have the mystical connection to the galactic central sun, to have the magical experience of galactic time in no time. I am a galactic citizen, here to connect with the prime creator of this galaxy. I am interconnected to all other galaxies of this universe, and at this expanded scale and size, I can acknowledge and honor the presence of the prime creator incarnate now in this galactic central sun.
Each time I repeat this meditation, I come to establish a more meaningful relationship with the galactic central sun, so that this human fraud time I live and manifest in can have the fullest layers of my highest co-creative values and understanding, the bigger picture of multidimensional totality. The more galactic central sun energy I can actualize, the more I can let go of time itself and call forth functioning on galactic time, using the common moral code of do no harm to any sentient kind. I now use my superluminal thinking to connect to all frequencies of time, to learn the different scales of the Akashic records that function in the here and now. I engage my sacred from of discipline and sovereignty and connect to Earth time that existed before Roman numeral time. I engage my sacred form of discipline and sovereignty and connect to the Earth time that existed before Roman numeral time. I, in this ever-present moment, ask Earth to be my sovereign neutral auditor of existence on all earth realms. I ask that you audit all soul charts, parts, avatars, and the entirety of me being here now, to upload and integrate every record of time stream that I exist on this earth realm in my DNA memories. I ask Earth to be the sacred neutral witness, an auditor of comparison and contrast to what is in my DNA lineage record and what is in the Earth's Akasha, and allow this wisdom to come into my knowingness so I may learn how to read the Akashic records from my DNA lineage as well as collective consciousness perspective.
I now
I
solidify and integrate my connection to Earth time, to the frequency of the Earth's Akashic records. I now ask the Universal Central Sun to come into my sacred heart space, to act as a sovereign neutral auditor of existence in all galactic realms within this universal Akashic records, to identify what is in my DNA lineage versus the universal Akashic records, to know the difference of the two potentials and how the system is guiding you. I, in this ever-present moment of now, choose to engage my universal source DNA so I may seamlessly be present and function on Earth time, galactic time, and universal time simultaneously, with my universal awareness asking all scales of the self to be sovereign neutral, auditor of all time, space existence, acting as the hub of interconnectivity as a universal being.
I am asking the Universal Central Sun to come in and upload the Universal Akashic record into my DNA memories. So there is a comparison and contrast process between what is my universal lineage memories and what is true universal memories. I allow this information into my knowingness in a sovereign neutral way so that I may begin to learn the truth of the comparison and contrast and not get lost in the distraction and false validation of the times. I, in this ever-present moment, have made these choices in internal and external meditative moments. Teach myself and millions of others observing us through galactic and universal time. We are sovereign soul shards, creating sovereign soul families, looking for sovereign soul existence, exchanging 7-color time, working the 8-color, so we may all be sovereign, neutral, co-creators with the equal moral code of do no harm to any sentient kind. And so it is. Aho.
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 Let me get back into this. Your screen sharing, stop share. Good. Oh, I got so hot.
Hot.
That was wonderful. That's a great revocation. Is that what you call that, a revocation? Or an affirmation?
Yeah, in invocation, meditation,
Revocation, yeah.
and stuff, whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
It was wonderful, though. Thank you for sharing that with all of us and allowing us to read it together.
Yeah, no, you're welcome. I'm glad I found it.
I've never read it in a group. That was really cool. It was totally different.
Oh yeah, because we're bringing our signatures in, and we're, it's like, hey, this is me, this is my voice. We're adding our signature to the document. Fabulous.
It reminds me of making it solid, real now into our reality that we're living in. So it becomes even more powerful because now it's in the reality.
Yeah, it's spoken.
Yeah.
It's, well, everything is there, right? Everything is available. But as soon as we make it real by acknowledging it, by voicing it, by coming together as a group, this is so much more powerful than even doing it by yourself, because you've got a witness there. We're all witnessing each other. And just listening to it now is, I must have written that also with the Akashic record in mind, obviously. So let's use it.
Yeah, we're taking it the next step. Like Andrew would say, take it to the next step. Yeah.
Take it to the next step and actually really step into it, and and see what we can actualize, and let's see what we can remember, because it's not about creating. Everything is already in existence. It's really just putting the layers away and then actualizing it. That's why actualizing is such a good word, actually. What is the weave? Oh, the weave. Yes. Well, yeah, we are weavers, right? We are spiders, really. We are weavers of the grid. Yeah, that's what we do. If anyone feels like there's not so much going on at the moment in their lives, and I'm not saying that is happening to you guys, but that's okay too, because everything is, we're just weaving in the background at the moment, until those flies keep coming in and get caught in our nets. So let's just keep weaving. Amy, did you want to?
Yeah. I loved how, and I don't know, I felt this differently. So even if I heard it before, it feels different already. So it's like the simultaneous time when it said Earth time, Galactic time, Universal time. I think that is actually what I'm feeling, and I'm not separating them anymore. Mm-hmm. It's like I feel them now, and I don't judge it. I don't, like we were talking about time. It's like time, like I was just telling somebody else, it's like time feels like one day, like the week felt like one day. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I'm showing up for appointments on the wrong day. It's like, and I can laugh about it now, and everybody looks at you like, why are you here? And it's like, oh, okay, I'm supposed to be here tomorrow. But it's stuff like that. Creatures I've never seen, little bugs I've never seen before. A bush cricket, I looked it up. Beautiful, beautiful green. He was in my house. It's like, how did he get in here? Because all my windows are shut. Like it's he's way up high on my window, and I'm like, wow. And what's kind of cool with the simultaneous too is he's in my house, but my husband actually saw him. Like it's like him and I are kind of working together. Mm-hmm. Like he's finding feathers for me, like feathers in our yard, like hawk feathers and blue jay feathers. Mm-hmm. It's like, wow, it's like syncing up. It's like syncing up for me.
Oh, I really like what you just said. And think of that, guys. The people you have relationships with in this lifetime, yeah? And even if they could be amazing, they could be less amazing and stuff like that. With most of the people that we have relationships here now, we have relationships in other bubbles of realities, right? Other timelines, other galaxies and universes. And there is a lot of bleed through now. When I say bleed through, a lot of awareness coming through. So what you just said, Amy, is like, you think of you and your husband working on a different timeline, even as a completely different pair, right? In a completely different genre, maybe even you are the husband and he is the wife, or you're the daughter, or stuff like that. It's really, really interesting how this happens. And often,
well, I just wanted to put in there that he knows what I'm thinking, guys. Okay, it's like he just knows, and I'm like, oh my God, I didn't say that out loud. I was thinking it, and it's incredible. It's like, oh my goodness, because he's a guy that's like, I don't believe any of this stuff. I don't believe, but he does. Like he does. He just, being a macho man, I can't admit that. But another thing that happened, okay, my daughter, she's a metalsmith. She makes jewelry, and she was working in our basement. That's where her studio is at the moment. She comes running upstairs and says, this ashtray that's a 1/2 inch thick, she just used it to put bottles on, exploded. It just exploded. There's nothing that hit it. There was nothing around it that could have, it just exploded. So, I mean, it's weird stuff like that. And it's like, I'm like, hey, spirits, hi. It's like, I don't know. It was kind of cool.
Yeah, no, fantastic. Anyone else having these, I call them bleed throughs, they're not really, but it's like a level, it's a different level of awareness that's coming through. And very often from people that the least expected. It's like my partner, he's abroad at the moment. He told me he had a dream. I was in his dream, and apparently I was put into prison for 17 days for drunk driving, and they only gave me dinner there. So he brought me breakfast and lunch. I'm like, oh, so kind. He hasn't been here for so long. And there he's bringing me breakfast and lunch to prison. And apparently he said, I just got so mad because, the inmates were so wacky and kept stealing my stuff and everything. So he managed to get me out on the 9th day on parole. And I find that hilarious because, I mean, if you would know the two of us, it's usually, I would say it's more the other way around. Yeah, I'm the spiritual blah, 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 and he's and there he's bringing me the food into prison. And I'm like, when I heard that, I knew this was real. That was really happening in a different bubble of reality, right? Where we are together, and that happened. When I said that to him, he said, he didn't poo-poo it, So I think also what I want to say here is this is why, we have to really get out of those limitations of what we have defined as a good relationship, right? Or be this now with our partners or with our kids or with anyone else, Yeah, I really like your purple thing, Tanya. Very, very funky.
I don't know. I don't know what's going on there. I just pulled the curtain closed a little bit, and all of a sudden I've got like a purple dragon flying around here at Saint Germain sitting in my living room. I am sitting in my meditation chair, which is a portal to the center of the galaxy. So as we were doing the reading, I called in, connected and, really, yeah.
Wow. We have that recorded now for all these unbelievers, the disbelievers out there.
Indeed.
Portal being recorded. Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
So going back to that, this is not a time where you really want to redefine pretty much everything. Because when you start taking the multidimensionality into account, you see things from a completely different perspective. When it's like family politics is one of the worst distractions out there. And the family members, the ones that are particularly kind to you in this lifetime, I think we talked about that before, they will probably have a lot to say about you in a different reality, on a different, timeline and things like that. So think about it from that perspective. If you say, okay, well, this relationship with this person is not particularly great, but yeah, not just now, but what is happening on a different level, right? On a multidimensional level that makes this all of a sudden a completely different ballgame, right? Because you can't just think linear anymore. You can't just think this lifetime. You can't just think seen. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I've had a lot of the, I was listening to Shobha and Irina earlier, and I was just saying, yep, sounds like me. Yep, sounds like me. I think we're all experiencing that's, you know, that multidimensional timeline split, and then having moments in the human world that are very, very human, very 3D, and then, you know, the next time you turn around, you're having a total multidimensional experience. It's a beautiful thing.
Mm.
Today, the energy is in the galactic calendar, in galactic time. It's the day of the galactic star, the yellow galactic star, guided by free will.
Mm-hmm.
So Martina, I always laugh because you're so in sync with the galactic calendar and you don't even know it. Maybe you do, but
you're absolutely right. Thank you very much for acknowledging that. I have no idea what I'm doing. Yeah. Shouldn't say that actually. Let's pot and pock that. Yeah. Let's try and uncreate that. Let's bring more awareness and clarity in this one.
Yeah.
But it's okay. As long as it works, I'm fine. I think I've been doing this all my life. Yeah. Oh, fantastic. Oh, fantastic. Good. Tom, how are you doing? Do you want to share something with us?
I did have an experience a couple of weeks ago. It seemed to be from an alternate timeline, funny kind of energy. I just integrated the energy, and I felt very light afterwards. And I'm not. So one of the questions I had, I don't know if this is an important question, but if such a thing comes up, is there anything in particular to do with that, or way to work with that? I think I got the answer that no, it's just acceptance.
Give us an example.
Example of what exactly?
So you're saying you're having an awareness what's happening on another timeline?
Yeah, that's what it felt like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, the best way of looking at it, probably what I would be doing is, first of all, acknowledge that the choices that you make in this life, in this timeline, or in other timelines and realities, be that now in different galaxies or universes, still have an impact on you here now. Yeah. So look at it. If you're happy with those choices, then that's fine. You can always ask a question. Question is one of those tools, and very simple, open questions, you know, that not include any judgment or, you know, preconceived answers already. So when I get stuck with something, I just ask, what is that? What do I do with that? Can I change it? Do I have to change it? Just keep it that way. That's from my Access days again, what I learned, to really work with the question and to keep the question open, and allow yourself to have an awareness that might have nothing to do with what you normally would expect the answer to be. Yeah. So for instance, I've had some back pain the other day, and I was doing the tool return to sender, you know, return to sender and all of that. And then I asked the question, so what am I hiding behind my back? It's a very good question when you have pain in the back. What am I hiding? Because we're hiding a lot of stuff. And so instead of looking at, okay, what about the exercise that I've done? What about, you know, this or that, you know? So first question is always return to sender. A couple of times, run that. And then if it still prevails, what am I hiding? And just leave it completely open. And the first thought that comes up, well, it must be something bad, right? Because I'm hiding it, a secret, you know, secretive, and, you know, all of that. And you know what the awareness was, that, and that comes also from, you know, working with people, not just from my own experience, that most people hide their potency behind their backs, their capacities. And in my particular case, it was compassion. I was hiding compassion. And I just wonder how many of us hide compassion behind our backs because of because of having fallen into the martyr, into the empath and all of that, having to go into independence, separation because of the wounding and all of that. And this is not a time, that's why we had that Zoom about compassion, because we need to start using it as a tool again. We need to actually acknowledge that we are compassionate people. And it's not even new passion, as we said at the time, it's actually an old passion. And if it is applied correctly, if it is done from a place of sovereign boundaries, open heart space, then compassion as a healer, every single one of us on this Zoom is a healer. Every single one watching it later in the archives is a healer. And if we don't allow ourselves to understand, understand, work with compassion, keep hiding it because we don't want to get hurt or something, it's the time to let that go, whatever that is. So Tom, I obviously diverted, as I do. But ask a question, right? Mm-hmm. And maybe, okay, let me go back to that one. I think I mentioned it last time as well. You know, that incident where I thought I had to leave somebody in this lifetime, and then I chose not to, but I had made that choice in a different reality, and I had left him in that reality, which made all the difference in this one, because I didn't have to leave him in this reality. It just felt like it. And when I left him in the other reality, this slotted into place. So acknowledge it, yes, by all means, because acknowledge it from that perspective. Because everything, think of yourself, you are a marker in time. You are the avatar here, right? And everything connects with you, your soul shards, parts, other avatars, other I ams, and all of that. You bring them together because you are the boss, really. So yeah, but that requires a multidimensional thinking, right? Because if you don't have that, you keep on still running. I'm gonna this and this, I have to do this. No, because think about it. This lifetime, I mean, how many lifetimes, how many different lifetimes have we been actually living in just this lifetime, right? Because we've all come here for karmic resolution. Every time we solve some karma, we're changing all the lifetimes that we've had, that we're linked into that. We're letting go of those markers in time.
I love that you said that, because that's actually what it feels like, that things feel so smooth for me now that I don't have to work for it anymore. Mm-hmm. It's like it just happens. And it's not even that I'm even asking for anything. It's just, wow, that was smooth. That went smooth. You know, so I can see when you say karmic resolution that it's like, oh, I can see that there are dropping off, that things, you know, and hiding behind my back too is certain things that I need to see. And that helps too, to know I got to ask the questions.
Yeah, just keep asking. What am I hiding?
Yeah.
And you know, use it's a lower back. It's all about support, really. If you go into, because every for the body workers here, everyone knows that every part of the body has a significant association with certain intensities, with certain pains, like shoulder, right? How much, you know, you see these people with these huge shoulders, you think, not necessarily because they're going to the gym all the time, but they really shouldering so much responsibility. It's the baggage, you know, they're carrying. You know, just by looking at somebody's body, you can tell what's going on and what kind of limitations, what kind of belief system they carry. It's very it's actually good fun looking into that. It's really helpful when you a therapist or a healer or something, without going obviously into conclusion. But you know, it's funny questions like that. What are you hiding? You can do this and you get the person totally on an unconscious, uncognizant, you know, level, like, and they can feel it. It's like, oh, stupid question, right? I know, it's stupid. Or what are you dying to get out of? Yeah. Tom, was that helpful in any way?
Well, it's all helpful. Yeah. It's good when things really trigger, because then it gives me a lot of energy to work with, and I can integrate.
Yes. Can I add an and to this one?
Sure.
We just got to be watching out what sort of points of views are running our lives, you know, because if you're looking for triggers, you're looking for trouble too. And this has been very much the way we've been working. And hey, totally one of those people. Yeah. So I have to continuously remind myself, what if you can now function from awareness and not from trigger, not from challenge? I mean, these things keep coming at us anyway. Yeah. Nonstop. But when you look for trigger, look for positive trigger too.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Sure.
And then
yeah, I like it what AB says about some programming. How does he put it? The mastery is in how you let things affect you. It's the impulse control. So reprogram the impulses to have a positive effect.
Yes. Yes. And then once you get to that stage of having cleared a lot of your stuff, the impulse doesn't even come anymore. Yeah. And then I think we talked about, and then it's like, okay, so what now? There's no challenge, there's no impulse, there is no trigger. What now? What do I do with this now, right? This is the new series we're playing with now, is really then, okay, you are, you know, galactic, universal, you know, let's play with galactic, you're multidimensional, on a dharmic path, you know, with a purpose. So what are we going to do with this? How can we create from here? How can we actualize things from here? Yeah, through question, through following the breadcrumbs, the dragons falling onto apple trees. Yeah, but you know, doing that work of imagination, visualization, Or like today, like, you know, playing, understanding time, and then just adding it together. Because, you know, even if we don't understand, I mean, I couldn't remember a single thing now from this meditation. It doesn't matter, because our consciousness understands, you know. These are those super illuminal thought processes that, you know, we can just trust. Can we trust? Because and remind ourselves that that kind of information, there's so much information out there, you know, we are not supposed to download all of it. Yeah. And even if you download it, you need to process it and let it go again. And lots of people who are gaining weight, who have issues with their digestive system, think of food and information as a very similar energy. So I used to go through a time where, you know, before I did all these shows and stuff, you know, I was like, okay, learn, new stuff. And then if I didn't have enough clients at the time, I couldn't get rid of it. And it impacted on my body physically. It's like, you know, you got to digest it, you got to let it go. But we're hanging on to it. We don't want to let it go. But that's the trust. It's always there. You can tap into it at any moment. So, where else do we want to take this?
Did you want to talk about anything about Roman numeral time versus what that is versus galactic time? So it becomes clearer in our mind.
Whatever you got.
The difference between the two.
Yeah, bring it on.
Well, I'm just asking you.
Oh,
what do you got on that?
Say again.
Because the subject today is about time, so we want to understand the difference between Roman numeral time and galactic time.
Okay, so Roman numeral time we know is obviously the fake time.
Correct.
The time that we all agreed upon. Okay, so let's make the connection with the Akash, because the Akashic records time. You know, and there are different Akashic records. There are planetary Akash. There's the individual that we have, universal and galactic, and depending on if it's universal, galactic, it's being recorded by those difference through the Earth, through, in those different Akashic
layers
and records. Yes. So how do we say? What do we say? Roman numeral time, yeah, we know it's the fake one. Earth time, the way, you know, I think it was in the meditation, is basically was before Roman numeral time. So Earth time is very much going with nature, going with getting up when the sun is out, going to sleep when it gets dark, you know, so going back to Earth time, living in harmony with the seasons, living in harmony with, you know, the daytime and the nighttime.
Yeah. Now, do you know how long ago Roman numeral time was introduced into our reality?
Well, I would almost say we could, it was in the book, wasn't it? But we can relate it to the Industrial Revolution, so 1700. But when were the first clock towers? Remember?
Yeah. But I think I just heard an old recording, and I could be wrong, but I believe that he indicated that this type of mortal time, counting of time, was probably introduced maybe about 2,000 years ago. Now, as I said, I could be wrong, but it's been around for a while, even before we understood it as Roman numeral time.
Well, I think it all started with the religions, basically. You know, that's when the time. You know, I can't remember now when those first what it was, but it was probably around that time. Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't know exactly, but that's when it all. Yeah.
I guess it was probably when they started to conquer the local bubbles of reality. Because once they conquered those bubbles, local bubbles of reality, then they would introduce the fake time in there.
Yeah.
That we're living by right now through the clocks and the clock towers and so on, because then they would probably establish a clock tower in each town that they've conquered. Yes, does that make sense?
Absolutely. And then, you know, I can't remember the story now, but there was obviously the connection to the Vatican, you know, and all this different when that all started. Yeah. And then of course it intensified everything when the in the Industrial Revolution, you know, and everybody came into the towns, and now of course we are totally dependent on it, 9 to 5 and all this job business. But now we're coming out of it, because
I think it's all linked into the post box and the post office and all that.
Yeah,
because each home has a post box linked to your local post office, and so it's all linked in all over the world now as a fake grid.
Yeah,
and it's all linked back to the clock tower and all that, I think.
And each letter carrier creates a pathway, right? Dropping those letters off, and reinforces that sacred geometric grid.
That makes sense.
Should we call it sacred?
Well, geometric.
How sacred?
You know, using the sacred geometry for domination and control.
Yeah, it's like a false sacred geometry placed on top of the real.
Right. It's like using the pentagram, which is a symbol for the greatest magic and spirit liberation, for dark magic and control. Right? It's like we're all taking this energy back now. It's one of the things I experienced with these galactic council meetings and these earth beings, right? The mystical earth beings that live in Earth's etheric realms, the unicorns and the dragons and the mermaids. And, you know, they are saying no more. We are taking Gaia back to real organic time, right? Taking it back for Gaia's timeline, for Earth's timeline, not for the systems of domination and control. It's very exciting.
Yes, yippee!
Yeah, I mean, it's the Earth taking over the contracts.
Exactly. And I don't know, Martina, you live in London, I live in San Francisco, right? And these are, you know, very geometric cities, you know, that have energy bindings on the whole city themselves. And I look at San Francisco and I see, I don't know if you guys know the pattern, the tree of life, you saw it, right? Where it's the different circles and then the crosses. And that's kind of how the structure here in San Francisco is set up. And I see that with other geometric cities as well, where there's these, I don't know, like ball portals where it's harder to get out of that energetic domination and control. And the way the grid is set up, there's triangles that are, you know, more energetically bound to that than other places in the cities.
Yeah.
So I'm learning more about that just on my own study here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think Laura does a lot of work along those lines. You know, she travels around in the country and does all sorts of work with that. That's what she specializes in, and she's very good at doing all this grid work and understanding. You know, going back in time and understanding those details. Fabulous. It's
Yeah,
quite
layers and layers and layers, layers and
yeah.
layers.
Yeah. I just remember doing timeline therapy many years ago when I started doing a lot of clearing. I worked with timeline therapy. Has anyone heard of timeline therapy? Okay, well, let's play with that because that's actually quite a good fun thing. And the way I used to work with people to clear limitations and conditioning and everything is to first establish what kind of timeline, how does our body perceive time? Since we're talking about time, this is let's do this little exercise before we finish off. So think of a time, a happy memory from the past. And just think of that time now. And then just perceive, where does that sit, that memory? Does it sit in the past, in the front, left, right, up, down? Where can you perceive that? Just get a sense of that. Let's establish the timelines first, and then we're sharing. And then think of a joyful memory for the future, and get a sense of, where do you perceive that? Front, back, left, right, up, down. And then also get a sense, yeah, okay. Get that. And then just imagine it would imply a line, a timeline, past and future, compared to your body, and get a sense if that line that you imagining, does it go through the body or outside of your body? Okay, and then who wants to share what kind of timeline they figured out? And it changes anyway, very often. So don't spend too much time. Who wants to share where they've got it?
I'm not sure so the first one was on my right, and then the future was up top, and then it felt outside.
Okay, so you got the future on top and the past to the right. That's Amy.
Yeah.
Okay, what else we got?
So I got the first question was a happy moment. That was the question?
Yeah.
So I got that center.
Happy moment in the past, yeah?
No, I got the happy moment in the center for some.
Yeah.
Like
okay.
it's right there when I think about it.
Yeah.
And then the future, I got to the right.
Future to the right.
And then the timeline, past or future, it was the same as Amy. It surrounded me.
So
like
hold
all
on.
around.
So the future to the right and the
Mhm.
past in the center.
The first question was the happy moment. You
The
said
happy
think
moment
about a
is-
happy moment. Was the center. The happy moment was the center.
Okay, just get a happy moment in the past now. Where do you perceive that? Is it still in the center or is it somewhere else?
It's in the center.
It's in the center. Okay, so your timeline is center for past and future to the right. That's your timeline, right? And when you say center, which part of the body is center for you?
Heart.
Heart. Cool. Interesting. What else we got? Who else we got? Tom?
So I was,
Yeah.
okay, I was feeling the past happy memory in the back of my heart.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought of another happy memory, and that kind of came up to the right of me. And it felt like a different timeline than the first one I was thinking about. So I went back to the first one. And then the future was in the front of my heart. And it didn't feel like a line as much as it felt like a sphere.
First of all, that's already interesting. Thanks for that, because you're already bringing other lifetimes in, which is, which is funny as well. So if you could imagine it as a line, where would it be? Future.
It would probably go from the back to the front.
Back to the front. Okay.
Right.
With the front in the front. Well, with the future in the front, right?
Future in the front, past in the back.
Okay, cool. Through the body, yeah? It's going through the body?
Yeah, through the heart.
Through the heart. Okay. This is 3 different timelines already. Okay. Very interesting. Give me one more. Tom, give me yours.
The past memory.
Yeah.
Behind me and a bit to the left.
Mm-hmm.
And the future memory in front of me and a bit to the right. And that came towards me right in close to the body, like near the solar plexus.
So outside of the body, not through the body.
In front of me, just in front.
Okay. All right. Well, that's already fun to play with. That, first of all, it's a weird question, right? And everyone has a different one, right? So I've got the past on the left, and I've got the future on the right. But sometimes I take it into right in front of me. But that's how I play with it. Yeah. So I'm just remember your timelines now, the way they were. And what I want you to do now, I want you to turn them round. So Amy would have the past on the left and the future down. Lana would have the future to the left and the past, let's say, take it to the back. Tanya, I want you to have your past in the front, the future in the back. Tom as well. Past the front, future in the back. Tell me what that feels like. Would that work? Or do I get an absolutely no ways? Or how does it change the perception when you do that?
For me, my first instinct to say is it feels just wrong. It feels confused. It feels jumbled. But, looking into it a little bit further, looking at it from a different perspective, right, could change, my perspective for looking at a number of different things, not just this.
Yeah.
Right.
But
Yeah, for me,
yeah.
For me, it felt the same. Because actually what I do see, I see calendars as a circle. So all I did was turn the dial and it just seemed so smooth. That's how it felt for me.
I mean, it's interesting because you had the future on top of you.
Right.
Right. And all of a sudden, so the future, okay, let me see how I can phrase this. Your future has been almost like compressing you because it's all been on top of you. And very difficult to see what's going on. It's like, whoosh, it's all coming down on you. All of a sudden, you're standing on the future. Yeah. And neither, I'm not saying this was just for fun. It's the same, when we have Tanya or Tom, very similar timelines there. If we all of a sudden say the future in the back, well, no, I can't see. I can't have the future in the back, right? And all of a sudden you got the past in the front, and not taking anyone here now as an example, but what I obviously found by working with people who had huge limitations, belief system, unhealed traumas and everything, they had the past right in front of them. When you ask them a question about what you want to do in next week, impossible to see for them because the past was right in front of them. And it was heavily, obviously, not allowing them to see further because they needed to heal the past, whatever that was. Mm. And we did, I remember doing, when we learned that technique, we had our timelines. And then before they send us off for lunch, they said, okay, let's swap those, take the timeline. Just imagine you take it and you turn it around and then go for lunch. It was awkward. People came back. They were totally, they came late, oh God, I didn't know what time. Totally confusing for them, Some people blank refused it, yeah. Let me see who said something here. Caitlin is saying, interesting. My past happy memory felt like it was in my solar plexus, maybe a little to the left. Future happy memory was somewhat to the right, but in my heart, both memories felt like they were within me. So the line connection between the two was from solar plexus. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Then I flipped it. I felt like a spin, somewhat like Amy had described. Yeah. So I have my past to the left because I love going back, looking what's going on, what can I learn, what do I need to heal, that. And then for some reason to the right, I have my future to the right, unless it's almost like I can't have it to the front because I need space. Because I need to be, but if there's something I know I want, and I want to actualize, then I just flip it over, bring it right in front of me. It's almost like this for me in the middle would be the present moment. And I need that free from the future and the past so I can maneuver. And sometimes, the future, I actually do spin forward at times. And the past, I keep to the left. I don't want the past in the front. That wouldn't make me happy. But it's just, there's one other thing is when people, there's a definition which the one thing which I remember is when people I used to have my timeline outside of my body. And when I put it outside my body is very often when we are dissociated, Now, today, I would say I probably wasn't in my body enough at the time. I didn't think along those lines in those days when I started doing that work. But they say you would be more dissociated and stuff like more the observer rather than being, the fun and the party and all of this. When you bring it in, you're an in-time person and you're much more, what's that saying? Being the thing of the party and talking and, and stuff like that. I can't remember now that saying.
The life of the party.
Life of the party, yeah, exactly. And much more present, but also forget about time because you're so in the moment, you don't think about time anymore. When I had my timeline outside, I was much more time conscious. As having it inside is like, whoosh, yes, in the moment. Here we go, off we go. So yeah.
It's interesting, just thinking about shifting the past, right, in the front of my heart and the future in the back. It's almost like when we talk about manifestation, you set the intentions as if they've already happened, right? So being able to see the future as the past, saying, oh, okay, we've already done that, because we're all in the now moment anyway, right?
Fantastic. Yeah, that's a lovely you see, this was just the basic when I learned that, but obviously with a multidimensional perspective now you can add, and you can really play with that and trick your mind a little bit with that. Absolutely. I love that, Tanya. Put it in the past as if it already had happened and see how quickly you manifest it. Now, the way we then did it was that, so now you got your timeline, and then you imagine that you float above that timeline, and then I would have taken the people into the past, wherever they had to go, back front, that was their thing. I took them into the past to a significant event where whatever we were working with, right? And then we just went into that, and it could have obviously been in the womb or before, right? In the womb or before. And often people said before, and they didn't even believe in lifetimes. The work was different that I was doing at the time than I do now. And then you just get closer into that event. And then they were telling me about what was happening in the event. And then just by adjusting the height, you could adjust the emotions. The more you drop them into the event, the more they will get like teary or anything. But that was not the point. The point was to go there. And it was an imaginative process. And I had issues in the beginning because I said, I can't fucking see it. How am I supposed to go there, right? I can't see it. And then they said, well, make it up. What? I can make it up? As soon as you make it up, oh, I'm right there, I can feel it. Tears and everything. Whoosh. Okay. Yes, this is how it works. Because we store this shit in our bodies, right? We just have to figure out where. The front, the back, up, down, right? So use this as a tool. And then obviously, yes, just to finish off that sentence there, and then you get the learnings from that, and then you take them through the process and everything, and then you take them up and back. And as you float back to the now, everything reorganizes itself in the light of the new findings in that past. And then you do the same. You can take, for instance, use it as a tool, because we're always very tool, what's the word? We're happy with tools. We need tools. So use this as a tool. You know where your future is now. So next time you have a goal, or whatever you want to call it, you take that goal, you float above the timeline, you float to the time when you want it. Yeah, take a date. Why not? And you drop that goal into the timeline. You watch it and then see what happens. Actually works. So use that timeline elicitation to play with. You are all practitioners enough. If you don't like the past in the front, well, you flip it. Yeah. If Amy says now our future on top is actually, what the hell, I can't see anything. Well, then change it, right? Put it to the front, to the right, wherever. Yeah. And yeah, let us know how you get on with that, because that's very cool. How we store our memories as we're talking about time. And then, of course, that's the basic idea of the whole thing. And as Tanya said, you can already trick yourself. You can add the universal time. You can add yourself in the universe, in the galaxy, on different planets. You can do this with every single soul shard. Yeah. But of course, then it gets a bit. Yeah. Now you're more than welcome. This timeline therapy has been very, very, I've done this for quite a few years. Very, very powerful. So I think we've reached the end of our timeline together. Thank you very much for coming on as usual, and recording to follow. keep practicing. And also, I think I said it in my in the hub, if there's anything galactic that comes up for you, any questions where I probably will have to prepare myself to have a few more awarenesses, or if you want to present something, you're all amazing peeps out there. If you want to present something, and as I'm saying, galactic communication connection is a very spacious topic, yeah? So you can throw in whatever you want. So don't be shy, yeah? We can do an interview. I'm interviewing you. And then, you know, always nice to have a few tools for people to take away. So yes, that's what this hub is all about. So thanks very much for being here, and I see you guys next week.
Thank you.
Thanks, Martina.
you.
Thanks everyone.
Okay, bye.
Thank
Good
you.
one. Bye.
Bye.